My Lords, the case for giving existing leaseholders this right was well made by the Law Commission, and they took head-on the counter-argument that this right is unnecessary because leaseholders can extinguish the ground rent by extending their lease. And let me quote from Law Commission paper 387, entitled Leasehold Home Ownership, Buying Your Freehold or Extending Your Lease. Para 363 in the consultation paper says, we explained that the 1993 Act right to a lease extension has been criticised for requiring leaseholders simultaneously to extend the term of their lease and therefore pay the landlord for the deferral of the reversion and to extinguish the ground rent and therefore pay the landlord the value of the remainder of the original term. We noted suggestions that leaseholders should be able to choose between extending their lease, extinguishing their ground rent, or both, in order to reduce the premium payable on the lease extension. Then they went on. Support for the introduction of a right to extinguish the ground rent under a lease without extending the lease, whether alone or with the right discussed immediately above, was widespread. Consultees who supported this option included various professional bodies, the majority of commercial freeholders, a majority of firms and individual professionals, and a significant majority of leaseholders and other individuals. Generally, and I continue to quote from the report, consultees' reasoning for supporting a right to extinguish the ground rent without extending the lease focused on the predicament of leaseholders who are subject to onerous or doubling ground rents in long or very long leases. And both professionals and leaseholders explained that these leaseholders have no need to extend their lease term, which may be as long as 999 years, but wish to buy out their ground rent before it becomes onerous and/or to make their property saleable. It was said to be pointless to require them to claim an extended lease term purely to solve this problem. And then they go on to say several consultees consider that given the forthcoming ban on ground rents in the majority of new leases, the right to extinguish ground rent in an existing lease, which is very long and does not require extending, would help to avoid the creation of a two-tier market consisting of leases with ground rent and those without. And this argument was most persuasively made by a number of leaseholders from one West India Key Residents Association. Pointing out that media coverage of the ground rent scandal has led prospective buyers to scrutinise ground rent obligations much more closely, Antonio de Gouveia wrote, if government is to cap or eliminate ground rents on new leases, which we think they will do, there is even more reason for new legislation from the Law Commission to enable all leaseholders in our building to buy out their ground rent, onerous or not. And my Lords, I note in passing that the point about a two-tier market was made in the helpful briefing for this bill from the Law Society. And this all led the Commission to its conclusion in paragraph 3108. We recommend that leaseholders who already have long leases should be entitled to extinguish the ground rent payable under their lease without also extending the term of their lease.